All right, all right. Welcome back. Week 2. The Deuces of Philly Bets live on Heat Ratio Sports, the network that brings you so many good things, including our pretty faces. I'm Dave Gleckner. This is Mark Drumheller. What's up, buddy?
Feeling good. It's Dallas week, brother. Gets no better than Eagles Dallas. Can't wait till Monday night. It's going to be a fun week early in the season to get this type of matchup. Definitely gets the juices flowing.
And it's a huge matchup. I mean, if you just look at the division landscape now with 3 teams 1-1, one just trailing far behind, it's big, isn't it?
It is. The division not that strong in general, like we saw last year. So definitely wide open, and that's what you want. If you're a team that's rebuilding like the Eagles are, you have a young quarterback, you have a rookie head coach. You want wide open, and I think they got that with the NFC East. And this is their chance. This is their
It
chance
is.
this week against Dallas to kind of make a statement and take possession of the division.
It is. So I always like to count our checks. And I look back at last week, and I think we put out some really nice plays. I mentioned a teaser that I would have played, which is Tampa and the Eagles, and I did go ahead and play that. Nice little cash there. I lost on George Kittle. I really thought the reception was 5.5, and he had 4 going into the fourth quarter. Really on the right pace. But San Fran was not in passing mode at that time, up 17-3, and it kind of just drew it out. And that's all right. Hey, we get them, we lose them sometimes. I know you had some bites there. You just weren't sure on the 3. You didn't like the 3.
Yeah.
And obviously I think you stayed off.
I did. I stayed off. The 3 to me was just a short line. Like I said, I expected San Francisco to be successful. I thought, the Eagles had a chance to be live. It was definitely a winnable game, and they had their opportunities in the game. But, ultimately, offensively, they just weren't able to get it done. And that's what surprised me. I thought I would see a lot more scoring. I kind of like the over more than anything last week. That didn't come to fruition, right? Both offenses kind of sputtering throughout the day. So that gives you a little bit of kind of insight. The Eagles, the one thing I was looking for out of them coming into the week is now, they're not playing Atlanta, they're playing San Francisco, much tougher, competition as far as the defense is concerned. Now they get the Dallas defense much closer to the Falcons defense than it is the Niners. So we should be able to get that offense going again, get our young quarterback some more confidence.
Yeah, and while we're counting checks, let me just throw one other out there. We'll get to them a little bit, but told you about Bryce Harper at plus 250 last week. I hope you got it. Bryce Harper to win MVP at plus 250. You know what the odds are right now, Drums?
It ain't 250.
Minus 145. He's now the favorite, and a notable favorite in a way. Minus 145 is a good amount. You're looking at 55, 60% implied odds. So, hey, I hope you pounced it last week. He's looking really good. Phillies will need some help, obviously, but I still think it's between him and Tatis, and neither are going to make the playoffs. So, just keep your eyes on him.
Can we have a parade for the MVP? Are we allowed to do that,
Nah.
or is that violent? No parade?
Well, you could do it for my bet. Not for Bryce.
I don't think the Phillies are making the playoffs, so I think that's our best shot at the parade if we do one for the MVP. So
yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, yeah, he looked actually like a little bit of a mess on the base pass last night, but was able to score the game-winning run, which was cool. And we'll see. The Phillies they've scored. I think tonight the pitcher for the Orioles had a 6.5 ERA coming into the game, and they put up nothing. Now they're up 2-1.
He comes out like aces.
Aces. They can't beat bad teams. But let's get into the Eagles, and it's Dallas week. That's right. Done looking back. Now we look forward. And Drums, I want to get into a lot of really what we're going to see come Monday night. And the kind of angles that I've started to look at are, for me, I think you got a Dallas team that's coming into Monday Night Football impressing the country so far. I think their game at Tampa really opened some eyes. They had a chance to win that game. And then they go out to L.A., not an easy place to play. I mean, I know the fans aren't really rabid out there in the Chargers Stadium, but it's still a good team. They beat on a last-second field goal on the Chargers. And if you ask anyone, I think they're high on Dallas based upon their first 2 games. And if you ask anyone what happened last week with the Eagles, they're low on Hurts now. And I think we're in a good situation where you might see the spread a little bit. I think it could get a little higher than it is now. Where is it settled at as you see it right now?
Yeah, it's settled right in at 451.5 on the total. And, I think the momentum towards Dallas, in the market in general, just kind of, plays into every year we do this with Dallas, right? Every year they have all the talent in the world on offense and they're going to put up these huge numbers and everyone gets excited. But, they have an idiot coach and, they just never seem to be able to get it done, right? So I think last week, for them getting a win against the Chargers team, despite the fact that they didn't look great offensively, the defense made a couple big plays. I think gave people a lot of hope that, especially if you're handicapping Dallas and liking them coming into the season, it's the defense that had you concerned. And that defense was able to kind of bottle up Herbert in the red zone, get some turnovers. And, they were able to hold on and get a victory. Anytime you can beat, a team fly, cross country on the West Coast, win a game on the road like that, it's good for your team's fortunes. But I'm not 100% sold on Dallas. Not sure that they're back yet. And, I don't know how long that defense is going to be able to create these turnovers. So we're going to see.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just think in the market, if you're looking at the market right now, you're going to see a 4. I think by the time game kicks off, you're going to see 4.5. I don't know if it quite climbs to 5. It's not as key of a number as Vegas cares. I think the hook is the only thing that they'll kind of entice some Philly bettors on. But I think there's potential for this thing to just grow a little bit based upon recent bias, is what I like to call it.
Yeah, it is recency bias, and when you look at Dallas and how they performed last week compared to the Eagles, it's almost like the opposite. The Dallas backers are like, hey, now I have hope. They're finally showing me what I wanted them to. And the Eagles fans, not so much hope after last week, especially on the offensive side, which was, kind of everybody's attention. Everyone's talking about the coach and the quarterback, and that's really where, people look at it. But a positive thing is that, the Eagles have been very tough in the trenches, and that's how the team's really built, and that's how they're built to win. They've been very successful running the ball, yards per play on defense, top 3 in the league at 4.3. So they're winning up front, and they're holding up their own defensively. And, that's what you need coming into a game where you're playing a team like Dallas that has all these weapons. Because if they can get stops against Dallas and not turn the ball over, another thing they've done very well, they could be right in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, loss of Brandon Graham, big or,
Yeah, I think it is. And Brandon Brooks on the other side. Like, I know a lot of people are like, hey, these are aging guys. We expect them to get hurt almost just because they've been, Brooks has had so much injury trouble recently. But Brandon Brooks is awesome when he's out on the field, man. And to lose that, even though they might have an adequate replacement, guys that they can kind of move around and shuffle in there, it's not the same. It's not the same. So, the injuries are the one thing that the Eagles have to avoid if they're going to make a run at this division. So we hopefully that all ends with what we saw last weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think Brandon Graham bigger than Brooks, just from the simple fact I think Landon Dickerson can come in and potentially, be a plug, be a stopgap there. We'll see what they put there. But Graham, on the other hand, it's just the emotional. You lose Brooks a lot. Look, let's be honest. Like the guy, I don't think has played 16 games. But Graham, it's going to be tough, and especially versus a team that you need to get front 4 pressure on. You can't just let Amari Cooper has seemed to be our killer in the past few years, and a little nervous about that passing game.
Yeah. It's listen, they got to get to the quarterback. They have to manufacture ways to get pressure. The Brandon Graham loss is big. There's no doubt about it. But guys are going to have to step up because if you let Dak sit there all day, you can't ask your corners and your secondary to cover these guys that Dallas rolls out there all game. So that's going to be key to game. They're going to have to find a way to get pressure without Grant.
And they're going to have to find a way to really create some offense. I guess, look, we know Dallas's defense is terrible, but we're still going to need to find a way to create some offense. I think it's got to be in the running game. I just think they need to control this clock, control the ball. The Eagles are not – they got 91-yard bomb to Watkins last week, but then didn't convert. It's few and far between, I feel like, that they're going to be able to convert that long ball. And I just don't think they're methodic enough or accurate enough from the quarterback position to really sustain drives consistently. That this run game, I think, really needs to step up this week. That's the key to me on offense. And I'm jury's still out on Jalen for me. I want to love him, but last week set me back half step.
Yeah, I didn't love the throwing motion. I thought that deep ball showed a little bit of a lack of a strength, and that's something that I'm sure he's worked on in the offseason. So you want to see a better result with that. But against a defense like Dallas, I don't know if it's going to make that much of a difference. I think that you can attack this Dallas defense several different ways. It's going to start with the running game, though. I agree with you on that. Philly and Dallas both top three. Philly 2, Dallas 3 in yards per rush, up over 5 yards a carry. Baltimore the only team higher. And I think that both teams are going to try and run the ball effectively. I think it is more critical for the Eagles to do that because their game plan has to be not to completely play keep away, but that offense has to be balanced because you don't want your defense on the field the entire game. You know what I mean? And that's really, I think, where they can be effective. And we saw it against Atlanta, use the running game, chew up some clock, wear down that Dallas defense. So in the fourth quarter, when these possessions matter more, you're fresher, you've already, kind of like imposed your will on that defense during the game. And then you can kind of burst some things open in the running game. And that's just going to help Hurts. You know what I mean? That's just going to help him make his job much easier.
So let's look at the game. Here's the key stats I'm looking at. Betting perspective only. We've broken down what we think are keys from the offense to defense perspective. But Dallas is coming off 2 straight road games. And I pulled back some stats, only back to 2017. But when they come off 2 straight road games, they're 3-3 straight up. I think 2-4 against the spread. So there's some underlying theme there that they're, it's tough to come back after that. They're home, they're cozy. Are they ready to play? Sometimes it showed that they are, sometimes they haven't. And a Dallas team that had posted a 14-2 record one year, you're getting 3-3. Maybe that's showing you that there is a little weakness. And then you pull back the last 4 years when the Eagles have visited Dallas. It's not pretty. They lost 37-17, 37-10 in the last 2 years. Obviously, that was a Doug Peterson era when the team was heading in the wrong direction. Year before that, they lost in overtime on an Amari Cooper touchdown, 29-23, and the year before that, they won big. So I know they can win here. I know they played well here, but recent history does show that Eagles haven't performed quite as well as we'd like, and Dallas, coming off 2 straight road games, hasn't performed quite as well as they probably would have liked. What gives, for me, when I'm looking at this, I think a lot of keys to this number really reside in, can the Eagles hold down Dallas's offense? And if I see a Chargers team that's able to do that, Dallas had to score a lot of points versus Tampa. I think that was a little, inflated might be the wrong word, but I think that kind of was skewed. They threw 60-some times. They never ran the ball. I think it was desperation mode week 1. I don't think this Dallas offense is quite as explosive as we thought it may have been. And I do think the Eagles' defense can match up well against them for the first time in many seasons. I kind of like the number right now. I'm leaning towards an Eagles play, but I do want to see if it can inflate a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, I think the fact that we're over a field goal here, I think, you take Philly. I think Philly is the side. Not that confident on the money line. I think they can win the game. It's possible, but I don't think you need to go that far. I think you take the points here. I think it's warranted. I expected this to come in around 3.5. It's a little bit higher. We talked about, the market's, recency bias going off of what, not only what happened last week, but just, the expectations of both teams coming into the season, right? Dallas favorite to win the division. Eagles had a win total around 6.5, right? So, now these two teams play. Dallas coming off a positive game, Eagles coming off a negative game. You're going to see a little bit of an adjustment there. So, not surprised at all by the 4. Do think it probably can get up to 4.5, but when you look at some of the underlying stats, Philly top 3 in net yards per play, and that's really, what they're doing in the trenches and how they're able to, defensively, I think it's going to play here, and I think it's going to play in the market. So I wouldn't expect it to move too far, but I do think looking at this game, from a side perspective, I think Philly's the side. I wouldn't want to lay this 4 points with Dallas just because their defense isn't strong enough to kind of for them to really pull away from a lot of teams. So as long as the Eagles can, get back to what they were doing offensively in week 1 and not sputter and, not call, ridiculous Philly specials in the red zone and, silliness like that. If they just keep it simple, I think that, they can have success against this Dallas team. Talent for talent, I think they match up very well.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be times that Sirianni loses the game for us. I don't want to say totally lost last week's game, but he definitely blew that. And it might be good. And it might actually turn out to be, a good thing for them coming forward this week, because we know we got a blithering idiot on the other sideline. I mean, he stinks. Yeah. Mike McCarthy stinks, right? And I think Sirianni can really take some lessons learned. I think he's a guy that might really, adapt from that and do better. So, I actually like him on the sideline better than I like McCarthy.
I do. And you want to hope that he learned from last week, right? Last week seemed a little bit overwhelmed. And you're going to get those ebb and flows with the new rookie head coach. But you hit the nail on the head. We know what McCarthy is. He's just going to make some weird decisions. And a lot of times last year when he made those decisions, it's allowed teams to stay in the game when they shouldn't have, even in the games where Dallas was performing well. So, I think it bodes well for the Eagles in keeping this game close and staying within the number. The 4 is big. Like I said, if it gets down to 3, definitely not as comfortable. Don't expect it to. But, if it stays 3.5, 4, if it gets up to 4.5, great. But, I think you hop on it at this point. I definitely think Philly's the side this weekend on Monday night on prime time.
Yeah, I think Sirianni even maybe tried a little too hard last week in front of the home crowd. He just wanted it so much. Now it's his first Dallas game, but road game, you get a little less distractions. I think he's going to have the troops fired up. And I will tell you one prop bet I really like. A lot of the game or the player props aren't out yet because it is a Monday night game. We'll see them come out tomorrow, maybe even Friday. Philly over 23.5 points is minus 125 right now on DraftKings. If you've seen anything recently from the first 2 weeks in the NFL, primetime games are 6-0 to the over. I think Philly keeps it close, but I also think they put up points. We've talked about Dallas's defense. That Herbert shouldn't put up 17. They had first and goal, and they messed it up. They had 2 penalties that pushed them back late in the game. They had to settle for field goal, and they did that multiple times. I don't think Philly makes the same mistakes. I love the 23.5 team total. Minus 125, you're paying a little juice, but I think you're okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. I do expect a higher scoring game, 51 total. It's going to be tough because I do think that the Eagles come into this game wanting to slow down the pace, wanting to dictate things with the running game. So, it'll probably still get over 51.5. Like if I were to play a side on the total, I'd probably still go over. But the team total with the Eagles at 24, I definitely think is a sound play. Again, Dallas's defense just not good according to the metrics. Points scored obviously is a little bit misleading because of the turnovers they had. And when you have so many turnovers like that, you're able to kind of bail yourself out of those positions. It makes a big difference. But one of the things we know in the NFL is you can't really depend on that week in and week out, right? Teams aren't able to kind of establish those types of big turnovers on a weekly basis. And Philadelphia has been a team, the Eagles, have done very well protecting the ball. So I think that they're going to continue to do that against Dallas. Very conservative game plan, maybe a little too conservative for everybody's liking, but I think it's going to help them offensively. I think it's going to help them win the game. But I think they can get to 24. I don't think that's going to be a problem against Dallas.
Yeah, I love it. So, hey, we are Philly Bets. That's week 3 at Dallas. Can't wait. Monday Night Football. We got a few other Philly things we're looking at, and I'm even going to throw you a Thursday night play when we wrap up this show. Drums, I'm going to go over to the big news in Philly right now, and that's your boy, number 25, Ben Simmons on the Philadelphia 76ers. I said your boy, I laugh, but he's not showing up, and he's never, ever going to step another second for Philadelphia onto the court. He's done with us. Man, he's going to have a rough awakening whenever he comes back here as a player. This is a bold move. I think it's career suicide, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, I don't think the guy is a great player anyway. I don't think he should be dictating his terms. Should have done this in silence, but I think this is a Rich Paul thing, and it's making this fan base irate. Don't you think?
I do. I think the fans have absolutely lost their mind in regards to this. Me, I don't. I understand it. I get it. Right. You know what I mean. And we see this all the time in sports, but players have more power than I think fans want to admit. And they don't. Listen, nobody wanted him here anyway. He doesn't want to come back. It's obviously going to be a split. I think the big issue right here is they're not able to get what they want, what they feel like is fair value for Simmons. And the Sixers kind of did that to themselves. So they're going to have to work through that and kind of figure this thing out. But I don't see any way where he can come back. We talked about it several times after the press conference. The partnership's just not tenable at that point. You have to move on. And I think that the Sixers may have misjudged, his level of displeasure, with the organization. So now they're kind of stuck holding the bag, and they got a deal to make. But I definitely think he is going to be on the move.
Yeah, and you may be correct that they probably didn't understand his level of displeasure. Again, I think it was pumped in from the oxygen was pumped in like they do at the casinos. I think it was pumped in from different levels. You know what I mean? Yeah. I put Doc Rivers coming out to say, yeah, I want him back. You weren't saying that after Game 7.
No. Well, it's the same thing. Like, that's the funny part. Like, Embiid comes on social media and says, I want to play with Ben forever. Like, you didn't say that at the press conference. They specifically asked you that question. You said there needs to be a lot of changes. So here we go. Buckle up. We're going to have a lot of changes.
Yeah. And listen, I'm good with it. And whatever you get, even if it's now I'm turning my mind quarters on the dollar, I'll take it because I just think the longer this drags out, the longer it just creates
for everybody.
For everyone. So that brings me to today's news. And today's news, betting market's important to us. That's why we're on here tonight, and that's what we look at. A lot of different odds, a lot of things swirling. One team that came into the mix this week has moved themselves up to the second position on the betting odds boards, and that's the Houston Rockets. John Wall wants out. Now he makes like $50 million, which is absolutely ludicrous in my mind. But
it's good for him.
It's good for him, but just to match salaries, you got to give like 3 players. Like I'd like Simmons for Wall straight up.
You got to try and acquire Bobby. You got to try and acquire Bobby Bonilla and send him over to trade to match up salary.
I'll tell you, Bobby Bo is still the smartest, but John Wall ain't far behind. And it's just now the Rockets have moved up. So the betting board looks like this. It's first. We got the Minnesota Timberwolves who fired their president of basketball operations today. Don't know if that has anything to do with the trade rumors going on there. They're at plus 400. You got the Rockets at plus 450. And then just behind that are the Kings at plus 650. We have a few others trailing at plus 800, which are all grouped up with the Spurs, Warriors, and Raptors. And lagging pretty much in last place right now are the Portland Trail Blazers at plus 1,100. Drums, if you were to make any bet here, any look here, he's getting traded. So the money you can put out there and know it's going to work, right? Which team would you kind of like leverage or lean towards right now, today, on September 22nd?
I mean, I would take some long shots. I think, Portland definitely in the mix.
Yeah.
I know rumors came out today. They're talking about McCollum and Covington.
I'm good now.
They're willing to make it happen. Yeah, if they can make that happen, listen, it gets Lillard some defensive help there. It gets him a facilitator. So that's really what Portland needs. And Lillard doesn't seem like he has any interest in leaving. So, I think that makes sense, at that number, getting long shot odds there. And, I heard some rumors about the Spurs. Some people are kind of connecting them to the Spurs. So I would probably take a shot there. I think, Popovich is a guy who probably thinks that he can kind of build Simmons back up from the ground up, would like to take on that type of challenge. So I don't know what we would get in return. I didn't hear that much in regards to the Spurs, but I do think it's going to be someone outside of, the top, it's probably not going to be Golden State or, some of the teams that he requested. It'll probably be one of those, middle of the pack teams that are trying to kind of jump up in the standings.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the Spurs have what you need. If you're willing to just buy back probably, 80% of the talent. DeJounte Murray, you could probably even get Devin Vassell. They have a bunch of really good two-way guards. And you're right. I think Popovich, listen, when's the last time the Spurs really got a free agent to go there? And what I mean by that is what I'm looking at are teams that are desperate for a potential star player can only do it through trade if they can't draw free agents. So a team like Cleveland, and they've dropped off the board, but they're not going to get a free agent. It's just not going to happen. So they were up there earlier. Spurs are actually kind of similar, and it's crazy to think that. But, they built their base around homegrown players in the past. So they're one chance to maybe get someone. I do like the Spurs in this case. If I'm me, and I really just kind of want them to go to Minnesota or Sacramento because they both are terrible teams and in their terrible locations. And I just want them to go die in Siberia. Like, I just want them to go away. never be on TV. Just fade away. And I would actually hope that, but from a betting market perspective, I do think Portland's live. I do think San Antonio's live. And the other team I will say is live is Minnesota, still just based upon the actions today, trying to reshape that front office. Maybe someone didn't want to move a certain player that now they do want to potentially dangle out there. Minnesota thinks they're not far away. Dave still thinks they're far away.
Yeah, they're pretty far away. So that would definitely, listen, depending on what you can get from them, again, it depends on the deal. But I think at this point, they're going to take pennies on the dollar. They're going to have to move on. Doc Rivers can do all the interviews and Zoom meetings he wants. It's not going to do anything at this point. There's already blood all over the floor. So there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, I'm not a big D'Angelo Russell guy, but at this point, I'm okay. At this point,
was he the draft with Embiid? Didn't we want D'Angelo Russell on draft night? I felt like, and then we were disappointed we didn't get him. Was that Embiid's draft? Where it was we can't get D'Angelo Russell now. We were stuck with Embiid.
Yeah, because Lakers took him at 2. I think you're right. Cat went at 1. We knew that was going, and I think D'Angelo went at 2. You're right.
I think I'm not. I get some of those years mixed up, but that might have been it. Where we were like, we want D'Angelo Russell, and he was Embiid. Yeah,
he was like Ohio State, I think, but he was the shooting guard we needed, but we couldn't get, and so we'll get the we'll do the Sam Hinkie way and get the damaged prospect and wait on it. Now it looks better now, but yeah, I think you're right. All right.
Well, listen, whoever you get, if you're dealing with Minnesota, whoever you get is going to be very happy to come to Philadelphia. So that's the good part about it. Nobody's going to come kicking and screaming if they're leaving from Minnesota.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler couldn't wait. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's going to happen. I just hope it happens sooner than later. So looking at the odds, we got a couple out there, and I might sprinkle some later tonight after I think about this one a little more. Now, I know you have always. You have your eyes on anything else locally this weekend?
Well, I mean, listen, you can hit Temple if you wanted to. We could talk about Temple. They let us down last week. Yeah, couldn't really keep it close with Boston College, and it wasn't really anything that Boston College did. It was, I think Temple had 11 turnovers. They turned the ball over on downs, I think, 4 times inside the 35-yard line. So they just weren't able to get it done, kind of shot themselves in the foot, lost, I think it was 21-3 as 14.5-point underdogs. Now they take on Wagner, right? The Wagner Seahawks, who only played 1 game so far this year. They got blown out, I think, by Buffalo, like 59-7, right? So I don't see the lines out in a lot of places. I was able to dig it up. It looks like they're going to be around 27.5-point favorites. So should be a big week for the Owls, but definitely not interested in laying that kind of chalk with a Temple team that it just self-destructed on the field so much last week. Obviously a huge level of competition difference going from Boston College to Wagner, but it's still a team that makes mistakes no matter who is the competition. So it'll be good for them to get in the win column, build some confidence for them to quarterback Justin Lynch, but not in a position right now to lay 27.5 points with the Temple Owls. But do wish them the best of luck, and hopefully we get a W.
Yeah, I agree. Temple's a tough read right now. They're just a tough read. That's all.
I felt like they really had a chance last week to kind of get some momentum, even if they lost, not that we're big on moral victories here, but if they could have kept that game close, they had Grossel making his first start, and he really didn't look effective at all. So, they really didn't want to throw the ball too much with them. So I thought that was a game that they could have kept close and kind of, got some style points at least, to show that they can kind of hang and are going in the right direction, but it didn't turn out that way. It's just a bunch of missed opportunities. Now they play a much inferior opponent, so hopefully they can bully them around.
Yeah. Temple's got a lot of uphill battles ahead, so
they got work to do. They got work to do, but Philly's never afraid of work, so it's maybe it's the new process.
No, I agree. All right, I don't have much.
They could probably use Joel Embiid.
Process, yeah. Well, he's going to have a big year ahead. We already know that. Me and you, I love myself some Joel Embiid, but I also know that this guy really needs to, step it up in the right times, and sometimes we haven't seen that, especially in the Hawks series last year. So he's not off the hook for me, even though I love him, and I think you're quite the same.
I think we all love him. I just think that I've come to the realization where I think that he really needs another dominant alpha on the team to kind of take some of the leadership stuff and kind of be able to score at the end of the game when you really need him. It'd be very strong in the first half during the playoffs, but second half a little rough. So if you can get him some help, some guy that can do some scoring down the stretch, I think that'll do wonders for this team. Not sure if they'll get that in a trade for Simmons, but Daryl Morey's not afraid of making a bunch of moves and shaking a bunch of things up. So
yeah, I don't care. Just get pieces and then maybe move Toby for another one. You're never going to get superstar value back for a superstar. It's just not going to happen. Harden didn't. You just don't get it. I use that term superstar so loosely with Simmons, but you're going to get nickels, you're going to get quarters, and you're just going to have to build this team. And you know what? We were depth of talent from 6-7 back anyway, deep on the team. So if you make this team a little more well-rounded, then maybe it makes it better. We'll see.
Maybe I'll ask you, because I read this week and I was shocked, but I kind of read that, all the decision makers in the Sixers organization pretty much signed off on the Simmons to Harden deal. And that was kind of the core of, some of the friction, the backstory. So what happened with the deal? Was it, Brooklyn backed out? I mean, not Brooklyn, but it was Houston backed out?
Yep. I heard they did. The rumors we got were that, is there something in the background for you?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just think Houston wanted young draft picks and different talent back that they just didn't want. They wanted volume, right? Mm-hmm. More than they wanted the player. I think that's what it was. Yeah. But hey, I got one more. Sure. I got one more play. And I've been doing this. I wanted to do it last week, and I forgot to say, I love playing Thursday night games. And while we're here on Monday or Wednesday night, why not talk Thursday night? Tomorrow night brings you a crap. It's just a bad one, right? Carolina, Houston. Davis Mills now at quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Davis, who?
Ooh, but you got two betting favorite teams right now. What do I mean by that? They're both 2-0 against the spread. And, something's got to bend, something's got to break. But what I'm looking at is I'm actually looking at the over in this game. Over 43 points is now minus 105 on DraftKings. I do like points to be scored in this game. Carolina's defense has been fantastic the first 2 weeks, but you know who they played? Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston. Now, I know it's Davis Mills, but there's no game tape. There's a few things out there. Thursday Night Football, short week, no game tape. Houston's actually been putting up some points. They put up 21 against Cleveland. I like the over tomorrow night. 43 points is too low for me.
Yeah, it is low. It did get steamed down. I think rightfully so. I wrote this one up for Yahoo this week. I think it might have came out today. I'm not sure. But, I am on the under in this game. I think that this is an under game. And really my line of thinking, so it's good for the audience to get both sides, is, you have a rookie head coach who's, preparing a rookie quarterback who was a third-round pick. So I'm on everything under in regards to Houston. Team total under, team under, Davis Mills passing yards under, Davis Mills anything under. I just think him going up against a defense that, Matt Rule, they played poor teams. They're playing another one. They lead the NFL in adjusted sack rate. They lead the NFL in sacks. I think that it's going to be a real bad game for Davis Mills. And I'm not sure, and where I see it is, and I think where I differ from some of the market, I don't think Carolina can carry this total. I think their offense a little bit of a mirage for what we saw last week. I think it's more like what we saw against the Jets, where they only put up 19 points. So I think it's going to be, 6-0 primetime games all to the over, man. I think that it might end Thursday night, but we'll see. It's gonna be a good one. But interesting stat in regards to the rookie quarterbacks. The rookie quarterbacks in games that they've started this year already, 1-5. To the over. So 5-1 to the under. It's been over City for the Jets. It's been over City. I want to say I think the Jags were the team that split. The other who's the other? Mac Jones 2 unders.
2 unders.
Zach Wilson 2 unders, and then Trevor Lawrence split because of these Houston Texans. Ended up hitting the over in that game. So it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited for Matt Rule. I just wish he had a better quarterback. Not yet sold on Sam Darnold, but We're going to see. It's going to be good. It's good. Listen, we learn a little bit more about each team each week.
We do, and I want to take the 8.
Yeah, I think I just can't lay it with Darnold.
Yeah,
they beat the Jets by 5. We know how bad the Jets are. They beat the Jets by 5.
5, and the Jets had the ball late. 5. They had the ball late,
right? So I can't lay that kind of chalk. But I am on the under. I think the under is a solid play. But hey, one of us is going to come out victorious. It wouldn't be the first time. The one thing I've been very poor with the past 2 years. It's going 2 years. I only bet one total this year. Betting another one is these totals. These totals I get wrong constantly, so I can't get them right. But I think this one's an under. We'll see. It's going to be a good one.
There are nights. I liked Auburn last week when you liked Penn State, and I think it's a very close game. It was a coin flip, so I think the over-under here was very much the same. I didn't bet Auburn. I told you I just didn't like Penn State, and I think you feel the same.
I'll tell you what, you had tremendous insight on the refs because they were definitely pulling for you.
Yeah, until the fourth quarter and that pass interference from the goal line. We got it late. Late's all that matters.
They can't handle Dotson.
No. Hey. Awesome show tonight, bud. We'll be back next week for sure. Wrapping up the Cowboys week. We love Dallas week here at Philly Bets. I know we do all across the tri-state area. Can't wait for this one. Monday night. We'll do it again next week. Till then, right?
Take the Eagles into points. Let's go.
Let's do it. All right, bud. Till then, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Talk to you next week. We're Philly Bets. Dave Blackner, Mark Drumheller. Peace out.